Good morning, Austin. David and Negrete over here.
Kristin Burritt over here.
What is going on? Welcome to the podcast, the first, Numero 1, first podcast, Kristin.
I know. It took us only 45 minutes to get everything set up to be here. But we did it and everything's working at the moment.
Finally. We definitely need to get better with tech, microphones, lighting.
Well, honestly, side note, part of my problem that I didn't factor into the schedule this morning was that Tom's teaching from home right now. So, because UT's virtual for a little while. And so, a lot of our little setup was like all in a different place. So I thought I was just, dropping the kid off at school and then sitting down and getting ready to go. But no, it was like grab this and here we are.
It's always like that. We have a cleaning, a person that comes and helps us clean the house. And we forgot that it was today.
Oh, no.
So really early in the morning, we hear the little ding dong. I almost wake up falling off from bed. And, I'm looking at the door and I'm like, oh my God, completely forgot.
Yeah.
Completely forgot. But hey, listen, so here we are together. We are going to get a podcast going. And basically, we would like to get everybody involved, everybody that we can involved with this project. It'll be a really cool, fun project, and basically informing people of local news, right? What's happening in Leander, Cedar Park, Round Rock, Georgetown, Central Austin, basically, and get them to be part of this community, get them informed while having fun with it as well. And more importantly, if this could be like a two-way thing, if you want to have your voice heard, hey, welcome to the show. The show.
I think we're both extroverts and we've been so stuck. David's wife is expecting, so they have to be really careful. I have a child with a heart condition. So the pandemic has been long and grueling. And I think for two extroverts, we are feeling a little disconnected. We really just want to know, what's going on with our clients are our friends are our clients. We just want to know, how's everybody doing? What's on your mind? And also just to highlight this community. We're really proud of it. We both live like on the north side. David's actually, your address is Austin though, right?
Basically consider Austin. I'm like right there, border.
You're way cooler than me. I'm farther north, but that's okay. I just think we're excited to get to have some sort of dialogue. And so we hope that you will comment, interact with us, and we'll talk about that. We really want this to be definitely a two-way street. But do you have any reasons why you wanted to do this specific format, David?
Just a way that we can communicate with people, make more friendships along the way. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there, especially with the pandemic. I want to make way more friends. And when I finally convinced my wife, hey, let's go out, let's invite people over, do parties, things like that. Boom, COVID hits. So I know that it's kind of difficult nowadays to start new friendships, be well informed of what's going on out there, know about great restaurants that maybe have outdoor seating for those people that, are really worried about COVID and being inside of restaurants when you're eating. So just something that's another channel basically to get informed about what's going on around you.
Yeah, I love that. I also love the idea that maybe people new to the area might be able to hear this and hear about some new things, but also maybe people that have lived here for a long time or their whole lives might hear about a business or a restaurant or an activity that they didn't know was happening. So it's all about the community. I'm very excited about that. So I want to talk a little bit about how we got to the name. So we went with Real Austin. And if you ever take a second and actually like look at our little opening logo, the letters change and they turn, and that was purposeful. So the R becomes a question mark because we're all about like asking questions. What's on everybody's mind, right? And then we have the little magnifying glass, and that's because we really want to go deep. We're not interested in being divisive or political, but we want to know what you're really thinking and feeling. We want to have hard conversations and just really know where people are at. So that's why we're not afraid to go deep. That's what the magnifying glass is for. There's the little map icon because we definitely want to highlight the community and talk to people out there, kind of be in the world. And then the last one was a little like the sign with the little kids playing. And we're both parents. And so we just know that that's going to be a big part of this whole process is, how does everything affect families, whether you have little bitty ones or you're almost an empty nester. So any thoughts? So you actually, it's funny because you came up with part of the name, and then I, after some searches, tossed in the other part. So it really is our baby.
Yeah, it is. It'll be a cool project for sure.
It's only fair that we share a little bit about who we are. Right? We're neither one of us are shy. So,
of course.
So tell me, who are you, David Negrete?
This is where it starts, right? So born and raised in Mexico, in Ensenada, Baja California. Just right now, when I said that born and raised, it reminded me of the, did you ever see that movie, Fresh Prince? Not movie, the series with Will Smith. Was it Fresh
Prince of Bel-Air? Yeah. You know what? That's like, so two quick things. I promise. They'll be quick. One is that that whole thing, like I am the same age as Will Smith and I was born very close to him. So that whole like hood stuff, that was like we could have been playing near each other when we were kids, which is fascinating. So I've always had like an affinity for Will Smith because of that, because he's a Philly boy.
He's awesome. He's a great guy.
He is awesome. But there's, have you heard they're doing a reboot?
Yeah, that is true. And I think he's producing it, right?
Yes, but
he's involved.
Catch this. The guy playing the lead went to college with my daughter, is like friends with my daughter.
Whoa. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's awesome. Anyway.
No, so when I said born and raised, it just reminded me of the little song. And
West Philadelphia, born and raised. Yeah.
Anyway, so born and raised in Mexico. Ended up coming over here to the U.S. to do my college. Got my bachelor's in finance from UTD up in Dallas.
No, wait a second. Now, I may have only found this out, fairly recently, but tell us for real, why did your family send you to America when you were 18?
So 18, you're supposed to be legal to start drinking in Mexico, right?
In Mexico, yeah.
Yeah. So they said there's no way. So we're gonna send you to the U.S. As soon as I turned 18. And so I had to wait a couple more years to be able to have my first legal drink.
Smart.
But that's a different story. Ended up going to Dallas to UTD to get my bachelor's, and then from there had the opportunity to move to Austin and being here for more than 12 years. Have a beautiful wife that I was able to import from Mexico. Shipped her over FedEx. Forgot if it was FedEx or UPS. But anyway, we have this gorgeous daughter. She's 5 years old. 5 years old now. About to turn 6 in May. And man, we have another one that's on the way. So March is the big date.
So I want to see.
We're gonna have a new tenant.
It's so funny because David's wife and I have the same birthday. So like I'm like sending messages to the unborn child like, share our birthday.
Well, not only the wife, right? Your daughter.
Yeah, our daughters have the same birthday. So poor David.
You and I are both older siblings, about 4 years apart from our
younger
siblings. Yeah, from our younger.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How about you? What's your story?
I mean, my story is I am from the Northeast, so I always feel like a fish out of water here in Texas for sure. Um, I was born in Philadelphia, grew up in the northern counties around it, so like farm country. So really old farmhouses. When the farmhouse decorating craze took off, like in the last 10 years or so, I was like, yeah, this is what all the houses looked like when I grew up, because they were real farmhouses. They were super old, from the 1700s, some of them.
Wow.
So I grew up with all that history, but didn't respect it at all back then. I guess it's hard to respect
Yeah.
things when you just grow up with them and
When you're
take it.
growing up.
And then I went to college in Ithaca for music. So I wanted to be a singer, an actor. And I actually got a performance degree and an education degree. And I did love teaching, but I really, really love performing. But I met my amazing husband at Ithaca. And, that's like a whole story for another day too. But we met when we were 18.
I was
And
young.
yeah, but we didn't date then. I said to my friends, like, oh, that Tom Bird, he's such a cutie. That's the kind of boy you marry. Not thinking that I would be the one to marry that cutie. But I thought he was just so nice. But we didn't
That's
actually
pretty
start
cool.
to date until right before my 21st birthday. So a few years. We were friends for a long time.
Oh, you were okay.
Yeah. So we didn't date until till we were right before I turned 21 was when we started dating. And then he's just a fantastic musician. He's a percussionist. And so we got engaged. We went on to grad school. He did his master's degree in 1 year. So we lived in Ohio for a year. And
Wow.
I substitute taught in some pretty rough schools in Cleveland. And Cleveland's weather it's just very gray. So you get a lot of the snow and rain, and not tons of sunshine.
Not a lot of sun. That's what I keep on hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a hard year, but it was, I was happy to be with Tom for sure. And then he
There you
decided
go. That
to
was your
go.
sunshine.
Exactly. And he decided to go straight on to get his doctorate. So he ended up at Northwestern. So we ended up in Chicago. So newlyweds in Chicago. And the coolest thing about that was that it was right when the show ER was like a huge hit. So,
Okay.
and ER was set in Chicago. So Chicago was sort of like the it town. And there we were, like young newlyweds, living there. And Northwestern campus is just gorgeous. And so, yeah, I taught there. It's where I started my middle school choir teaching career. And then we got pregnant with Kayla. So Kayla was actually born in Chicago. But strangely enough, so I think I was in my 9th month. Tom actually got offered a job in Arkansas. And I was like, hey,
Wow.
a job's a job. Because when you're music teachers, like you go where the jobs are, right? And
Right.
it was definitely culture shock, having like grown up in the Northeast and then spent a couple years in Chicago. Ending up in the middle in Conway, Arkansas was like crazy.
And
Definitely.
now that you're saying this, he spent a lot of years in school as well.
He did.
It's a
He
lot
did.
of
But I
content.
mean, it's ultimately the job. It's part of the reason why he was able to get the job at UT. So obviously for professors, that kind of education is super important. But yeah, I'm actually married to Dr. Burritt because
Here
he did get his.
and he's a pro.
He is. He is.
Even
But
though he doesn't like to say it.
we had our second child in Arkansas, and then 20 years ago, he got the job at UT, which brought us here. And we had our homebred last baby in Round Rock, Texas. And he's 17 now. So we have 3. We have Kayla, we have Aiden, and we have Liam. And I have been off and on, doing lots of teaching, still performing when I could, and doing voice lessons. working in the public schools, so I care a lot about education, have a lot of opinions and thoughts on education. But a few years ago, I stepped out for health reasons. It was the best decision I ever made, for sure. But in the magic circle of life, I met David, and through that process, I got into real estate and found that I
Well,
really,
time
really
out. Before we start with real estate, I do have a question for you. It's really important, and I think everybody that listens to this is going to want to know. You've been in so many different states, right? And your last baby it's an Austinite,
Round Rock, technically.
Round Rock, close, really close. Are you a Longhorns fan?
Well, I like to. Yes,
Okay.
we are
Wait,
Longhorns fans,
wait,
but
I think we still have people that are listening to our show. Great. We still.
right. We didn't lose all the A&M friends, the Tech fans. Sorry. This is what I always say. They give us our salary. They pay my bills. So yes, I did have the first game I ever went to. I literally had a Longhorn fan, ask me if I had dyed my hair burnt orange.
Oh,
And I
wow.
like legitimately, and I was like, no, it came out this way, but I thought, wow, these fans are intense. Now,
Yeah, they are huge.
I mean, side by side on that one though, people ask us all the time, like, are we Dallas fans? Are we, Houston fans, like as far as football? And
I had no idea football was. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say we are. I didn't really mention it, but my husband, I'm from Philadelphia, but my husband grew up in Buffalo, so we are diehard Bills fans. But we're so excited. First of all, they're killing it this season, which is great.
Yep.
But there's like a place in Cedar Park that is owned by this guy from Buffalo, and it's like the Buffalo Bills headquarters. So when the weather's nice enough that they can sit outside in Cedar Park.
No idea.
Yeah. Oh, we just discovered it like in the last 6 months, and my husband's over the moon about it because he can go and actually hang out with Bills fans. So
I coming from Mexico, I had no idea how people are such diehard fans, especially college. And here in Austin is crazy. I mean,
it is like a religion almost.
Really, it is. It's kind of like going to Mexico and just it's soccer.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was soccer.
Over here, it's football. But yeah, I always thought, like coming from Mexico, I always thought, the pros, Dallas Cowboys, Houston, like the Bills, like what you're talking about, that the pro teams had a stronger, I guess, fan base. But when you're talking, I mean, I meet some people that are diehard fans for the Longhorns, and they go hard. What is it? Who's their main competitor? OU?
Yeah.
Main competition?
Oklahoma. Yeah.
Rivals?
Yes. I know that there's the Red River rivalry because Liam was like born just hours before the game that year. So,
wow.
So yeah, but yeah, it was serious business because like I delivered my baby, I slept a little while, and then there was football on the television because that was the game that was on. Yeah, I think it just had people are. I mean, that's a topic I would love to talk about sometime as like a whole topic in and of itself is just Texas pride because you were saying, I thought maybe this was what you were going to ask too, and you said I've lived in a lot of states. I have lived in a lot of states, and I will say, like in Pennsylvania, I didn't say a Pennsylvania pledge every day along with the Pledge of Allegiance. Like there's not Pennsylvania or Ohio or Illinois or Arkansas pride the way there is Texas pride. It's like a whole nother level, which was really weird to me. But I'm starting to, starting to understand it. It only took me 20 years.
Awesome. So hey, let's tell them how we met.
Do you want to go first or should I?
No, I want to hear your memories. How you recall things.
We were thinking about moving houses, and we really wanted to find like a diamond in the rough and kind of flip it up, change it up. And so it was like February. Um, we we were just going to open houses, really. And we walked into this open house, and there was this like young guy and like super slick, smart. But and
But no kids, no gray hair.
actually,
He
I
was a
remember
stud.
thinking
He
you
was
were
a stud.
very young. But um, he didn't like attack us when we walked through the door, which I really appreciated because sometimes in open houses you just feel like you can't get in the door without being attacked.
I know.
I try and remember that now when we're doing open houses. But yeah, so it was an unusual like layout and stuff. That little house, that was a cute, tiny little house. But what really surprised me was he didn't try and push the house on us. David was like, okay, so, this isn't maybe your cup of tea. That's fine. Can you give me some, like, what could maybe the owners do? What can I tell the sellers? And I was like, this person wants my opinion. Like, all of a sudden I felt like I was being treated like I was on the same level rather than I'm like an expert and I'm going to tell you why you need to do this.
But
And we just,
I was just gonna say, well, you know why that happened, right? I mean, the first thing as soon as you come in, I saw your reaction. It wasn't a no immediately, but after I started asking you questions and you said it was a no, my mindset went to, hey, listen, this person, it's not her house and it's okay. She doesn't need to buy it. But my whole point of being here in this open house is to actually sell the house. So the least I can do is ask for your opinion of what could I do to the house, or what kind of feedback I could give the seller, so we can make those adjustments if possible, of course. And then from there, sell it to the right person. I mean, you don't need to push a house down somebody's throat to be able to try to sell it. If it's
no.
not meant to be, it's not meant to be.
I mean,
It's
maybe some people like it that way, but that's never been our cup of tea either.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like there was a kind of a magic moment because I just remember there was a great fireplace in that house, and it just wasn't being utilized. It hadn't been like decorated to highlight that because it was like the first thing you saw when you walked in. So knowing kind of where our relationship went next, in terms of working together with me as a stager for you, that always kind of stayed with me. It was, I just remember, I think that's why I had the courage to reach out, respond to the emails that way of like, hey, I'm a stager, do you need anyone, was because you would ask my opinion to begin with. If you hadn't done that, I don't know that I would have had the courage to make that connection later. But we thought you were I mean, my husband loved you. I guess because like you were talking about drums and stuff, and you were very I could tell you were very genuine when you were asking about our kids, because our child had just gotten like rejected from his dream school and we were kind of depressed, and you were just so like sweet and understanding. So I think you just being really genuine. I could tell that you were like a go-getter, but it wasn't at the fault of like, it was never at the expense of somebody else. Like, you're a go-getter, but you definitely cared about people. So I would say that was our
It's just
first impression. I mean, enough
it's
that we
just
ended
the
up
way
hiring you as our realtor.
and thanks for the opportunity always. But yes, it's basically come from contribution, good do things for people, and expect nothing back. Good things will come back to you. It's weird how the world works, but I do remember specifically asking for your opinion because you genuinely gave me an honest response of, hey, listen, I think you should do this to the house and then you should do that. And then from there, it was just like a home run, right? I decided to stay in contact, do follow-ups. And then 2 years later, boom, I mean, here we are.
That really felt like the universe too, because just to give you like a little the idea of how things lined up. So flash forward a while, it was like 6 months or more later, and I had left my teaching job and I decided I was going to do staging because I had done it as like a hobby. And it just so happened that literally at the time when I was sitting down trying to get things going, I get an email from David, just a standard follow up, like, "Hey, how you guys been? Did you end up finding a house?" And if it weren't for that, we wouldn't be where we are today. I ended up being his stager for a while, then being his assistant for a year, and then getting my license and getting to be in
Boom,
with
licensed
me.
realtor.
So
But you know
yeah.
what? Throughout the time, though, I did notice. I mean, you have so much attention to detail. You're able to just the way you read personalities and are able to adapt to them when you're talking to them is so it's out of this world, to be honest. And once people get to use our company and talk to you, they'll notice that right away that you're able to adjust to any type of personality, which makes you so lovable.
Thanks. I mean, I think the danger in that sometimes is like being perceived as fake. But I think people who really know me know that I'm not fake. I mean, I am who I am. Like what you see is what you get. But I do think that I have this ability to kind of just read how people are feeling. So
Yeah,
I think that just helps just to be sensitive, I guess. But
true, true. So on this podcast, let's concentrate for this podcast. What do you think the like the format will be on will be something that could get people interested for this podcast?
Well, I mean, what we've discussed, and we definitely are open to your feedback. So let us know what you think. Um, you know, Similar to like a late night format, and that we'll just check in, talk about what's going on in our lives. And then we would really like to do a community highlight. So,
Ooh, yes.
highlighting local restaurants for sure, because I love food, but also businesses. So, businesses, restaurants, anything that just helps you to get to know our area a little bit more. Um, then our goal is to take a topic and deep dive into it. So it might, it could be anything. We have a list of the things that have been sort of on our minds for our families. Um, and that's kind of where we're going from, but we're also interested in your thoughts. We thought we talked a lot about, like, did we want this to be just about community stuff, just about highlighting? But at the end of the day, we want to have real conversations and get to know people and connect with people. And so we just want to be real.
110%.
Real
Real
awesome.
Austin.
So we have the deep dive, and then we would like to have some back and forth, so questions and comments, and have some interaction, and then we'll just round it up with talking about what the next topic will be. Did I leave anything out?
No, I think you got it. You hit it. You knocked it out of the park, Kristen. That's what you did.
Oh, thank you.
I just really want to make sure people know that, hey, listen, there's no right or wrong. If you have an opinion, you're never going to get judged over here with us. Uh, for our highlights, if you know of really good restaurants that you want other people to know about, I mean, we will go try them out as well, and then bring it to the podcast for sure.
What being forced to have to go try food sounds terrible. Sign me up.
All right, cool. Well, what will be our so this was our intro, pretty much
Yep.
informal intro, but what will be the first topic that will be on most people's head that we can talk about next week?
Well, we debated this a little bit, right? But we both have families. You've got a little one in school in elementary, and I've got one in high school, and so we're going to talk about where we are with COVID now. And we don't intend it to be a political conversation by any means, but
Sure.
I've been starting to do some research for it, and it's really interesting. Like, what's the difference between an epidemic than a pandemic, and when does it become endemic? And what are the long-term consequences of what we're this trauma that we're all living through? So it's not intended to be political at all, but just to have a conversation about COVID, about what experts are saying to expect, which nobody really knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. And then just also like how it's affecting us, because it felt really disingenuous to say, like, we're going to talk about what's on the hearts and minds of people and then not talk about COVID. Maybe we're like sick of talking about COVID, but I think it's important. I mean, it's a little bit of therapy for us too, I think.
No, I think it would be to be able to talk about it, because maybe I'm having problems here that I'm thinking that, man, am I just going crazy? But maybe more and a lot of people are going through the same problems. And I don't know, I can get some solutions and vice versa. I can give out some advice, just like you can give out some advice in certain topics for wives, husbands, parenting with this COVID is crazy. I know you're almost an empty nester, but over here, I mean, it's going to get interesting, to be honest, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot to dive into. And I think we'll try and keep it more to, how it's affecting us. But even, like I mentioned, just starting to do some research, just realizing that this is just something we're going to be living with probably for a long time. And so trying to find our pacing. It's like we thought it was a sprint in March of 2020. We thought it was going to be a 2-week sprint. And now it's like one of those.
Welcome to real Austin.
One of those
the real world,
50-mile marathons. So it's just like trying to check in on each other, and because it's a new kind of normal. So
right.
So yeah, so we'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and we will be checking back in with our new topic and our new format next time.
Cool. Also, by the way, just before I forget, because a lot of work went into this, there's a lot of brainstorming, but the music, when you put the real Austin, I want to thank Liam for it. He did an amazing job. He did really good. And actually, if you could please put it on the podcast that I said that I want Liam to hear it and
I
mention
will.
what he does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really proud of him. He really loves soundtrack stuff. So yeah, that's his original work. All right.
All right. Peace out.
Peace
Take
out.
care.
Thank you.